Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip board meeting. Today is October 2nd, 2023, and we'll call this meeting in order at 7:31 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez-Mendoza is absent. Trustee McLaughlin?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas-Garza is absent. Trustee Parada?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, officers' reports, starting with mine. A couple of notes here. I did meet with the finance director this morning and our contractors, and they were reminding me that we need to have a committee meeting for the OPEB trust, and we haven't had one of those in some time, and that we designated in our original agreement, our policy, I should say, that we drafted, was that we were going to have the finance committee act as the committee for the OPEB trust. So Trustee McLaurin, I'd ask if you could call a meeting of the OPEB trust, and we'll get updates and so forth. We'll get that going, okay?
Okay. I don't remember that designation.
I'll send you a copy of it. I just did a whole history on this last week. But, yeah, we said we were going to have the finance committee act as the committee for this particular investment. In other words, we have an investment company, PFM, but they are also recommending that we implement a third-party administrator at this point then, too, because originally we were going to act as the administrator, and they didn't think that was a good idea. They wanted somebody with a little more knowledge to do something like that then, too, in finance.
Okay.
So if you would, please, if you can call a OPEB Trust Committee meeting, that's what we need to take a look at. And then I'm preparing a summary. I was at a meeting last Tuesday with the Southland Water Agency. That's where many suburbs we're getting together. The Village of Alsip is already committed to feasibility study monies to draw water, I should say, from Lake Michigan through Indiana, saving us money on what the cost of Chicago water is. And I'm going to have a report for everyone next week at committee on that. Also, I had a meeting with I had a discussion with our attorney, Joe Kankar, earlier this morning. We have a contractor, actually the state does, that's doing some work over near 127th Street for IDOT, and they're asking for permission to stage materials at the Alsip boat launch. They're going to be working for about the next 3 months on a project over there. Their company's name is called Fiber Sync, and they're working for a company known as Power Link Electric, and they are a contractor sanctioned with IDOT. They're working for IDOT. So like I said, they're going to be out there for about 3 months, and they want to start staging materials, and they felt the Alsip boat launch wasn't really being used much in the corner where they'd like to stage all their materials, and I told them I would ask for a consensus at tonight's meeting to get permission from the village, allowing them to stage materials at the boat launch.
I guess I'd be more curious about what kind of materials that we're talking about and what potential damage it would do to the existing parking lot.
I didn't get all the particulars on that just yet, and all I know is it's just staging materials, and I can find out, but that's going to push us off by another week or so, just asking to do something like this then, too. They're trying to stage
I don't know
everything.
how we can just blanketly say yes if we don't know what it is they're going to be doing with our property.
Yeah, they're going to bring in truckloads of stone, of dirt, of materials.
You think they're going to use it for a bathroom? Is that what you're saying?
No, if they remediate.
Well, I'm just saying, clean up after themselves.
I mean, the boat launch itself will be closing in the very near future. So interrupting business is not the issue, but it's a matter of what do they plan on putting on our property? And
You know what, before the end of the meeting, I'll get an answer from them asking what materials it is that they want to stage out there. You know what, give me 1 minute, folks, let me send this over to them.
And IDOT's got a whole big facility, don't they?
I can't speak to that.
I mean, they,
the IDOT property just to the west, yeah.
right. And east.
All right, so I sent a question just now, we'll find out. First on your agenda this evening was the approval to have the village attorney amend Article 2, Administration and Enforcement, Division 1, Section 4-41, Happy Hour, reduced drinks, that was originally approved on November 7th, 1994, and we're asking to adopt the new Illinois Liquor Commission's Public Act 99-46, which went into effect July 15, 2015. Number 2 was the approval to appoint the Alsip Planning and Zoning Commissioner Chuck Rolfson from the Vice Chairman to the Chairman of the Commission, as he will fill the vacancy of Stan Graycheck, who recently retired. The vacancy of the next Vice Chairperson appointment is pending, and per ordinance, the mayor shall designate a chairman and vice chairman of the Alsip Planning and Zoning Commission with the consent of the Board of Trustees. So, any questions on any of that? All right. Then we'll go to the clerk's report. Clerk Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the approval of the September 18th, 2023 board meeting minutes and the presentation and approval of the September 25th, 2023 committee meeting minutes. And that is all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. We have the attorney's report. We have Vince Kankar with us.
Nothing
Vince?
tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Engineers report, Jeff Agan. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. So the village did receive federal funds for the resurfacing of Costner Avenue from 123rd to 127th Street. Those plans have all been submitted in IDOT, final plans, and we're on track for the November 17th letting. So in the spring, that project should be ready for construction. So then, moving on to the water main improvements, the 118th place water main improvements. The water main and services have been switched over. We mentioned that last meeting, but the concrete work has been done as far as the restoration goes. And the contractor is working on patching and landscape restoration this week. The goal is to be done next week. Keep our fingers crossed they might finish up early this week. And then the 115th portion of that project from Joalis over towards Colon, that is, they're still working on hooking up water services and switching all the homes over to the new main in that area. The MFT resurfacing project, the concrete work is done, and they started milling in the Lombard area today. They should finish up that area tomorrow with their milling operations, and then they'll move on to the other portions of the village after that. So, sent some information and applications over earlier today for signature for that $50,000 DCEO ADA upgrade.
Right.
So that's great news also, getting that funding. So that'll be for next year's joint bid that Mike does for replacing sidewalk squares and bringing everything into ADA compliance.
The $50,000?
Correct.
Right.
Yep. That's all I got.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, today I took a quick ride around, and I saw them working around Lombard Street. That's quite a task. They're going pretty deep with that, with the...
4 inches.
Yeah.
4 inches most.
Exactly, yeah. So with the milling that's taking place out there right now, do you know, Mike Frederick's not available right now, but do you know if, did we get the televising done to identify the obstruction that was in our sewer line out there?
Yep, they're working on that now. What they're finding is a lot of those storm sewers were half full of debris and sediment and rocks and whatnot, so they're working on getting that all cleaned out, and then they'll televise it, and then there's some areas where we may need to go back and do some individual point repairs before we get the resurfacing done.
Do you know if we're cleaning that, or do we have a contractor on that?
Pardon?
Are we cleaning that, or a contractor?
The contractor is.
Okay.
Yep, Pipe View.
Pipeview is out there? Okay.
Correct.
All right. I didn't know if it was something we were capable of doing.
The village started looking at it initially, and then they, with municipal, with the Mike staff, and then they decided to run with this contractor.
Okay.
So.
All right. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
We've reached the public forum portion of our meeting. Did anyone from the audience wish to address the board tonight? Folks, anybody want to speak to the board? No? Mr. Smoot?
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
The majority of Cook County homes, businesses are uninsured for the increased risk of floods. So I was just wondering, how is Alsip doing in this?
We do really well in that department. We're actually, I was at a meeting Wednesday night with the Southwest Conference of Mayors, and they start the meeting all the time with what they call the watershed meeting, whereas you have like Water Reclamation District giving a full report. And actually, the mayors, we were trying to ask for more assistance than just for flooding. Like, obviously we appropriate, I should say, a lot of money every year to handle our water and sewer systems. Alsip is not on a floodplain. MWRD doesn't recognize us as being a flood community, Jeff, is that correct?
Well, there are individual special flood hazard areas around the creeks usually, typically, so, but as far as the MWRD status, I'm not 100% sure on
Yeah,
that.
no, they don't really recognize us as being on a floodplain. Like you said, if you're right on top of a creek somewhere, yeah, it's got potential for possible flooding, but for the most part, Mr. Smoot, no, we're not. And what I'm going to start doing is, well, I shouldn't say start, we're always asking for assistance from the other taxing agencies when we can, but we're going to start with the Southwest Conference of Mayors. We had that conversation Wednesday night to say that we're going to keep asking for more and more help, not just for flooding issues, but certainly we spend a lot of money. Like we're doing all of our, we're resealing all of our storm drains right now, right? Did we sanitary were those sanitaries too? I know we were doing the storm sewers as well. Even with the corrugated metal type of thing, where with the in situ form that was out there, resealing all those.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, that wasn't sanitary, that was storm, right?
It was, Citriform's contract was sanitary sewer. So typically, there's a program to go and investigate the sanitary sewer within the village, certain segments, and kind of do it at certain areas of the village at certain times, and kind of work our way through the village to investigate for inflow and infiltration. And that's trying to eliminate non-sanitary flows from entering the sanitary sewer, whether it be through cracks in the joints and in the pipes,
Okay.
downspouts that might illegally be tied into the sanitary sewer, and then we follow that up then with a program to reline it, and the manholes as well, improve the manhole to try to keep that water out so that when the bigger rains come, the sanitary system doesn't get overtaxed with storm waters and cause backups into basements.
Right.
So with the Lombard area, with the storm sewer there, we're televising that and checking the condition of those, and we're cleaning it at the same time, and then we'll be able to make the repairs, like you were mentioning, Mayor.
Okay. So hopefully, Mr. Smoot, to answer your question, but in other words, we don't have a big flood problem here. No, we do not.
Because I was wondering, it was several decades ago, it was something that was called the Deep Tunnel Project.
Right.
And it was supposed to alleviate not only the flooding in Chicago, but neighboring areas in Cook County, because millions of dollars were poured into that. I'm just wondering, what happened to that?
Deep tunnels still exist, right?
The deep tunnel helps a lot in the communities that have combined sewer. So there's certain communities, the city of Chicago, and I know some of the south suburbs, maybe a little bit further east, that have what they call combined sewer. So the sanitary and the storm sewer all go to the same location. So when it rains, so I was just mentioning before about trying to keep the rainwater out of the village's sanitary sewer system. There's parts of the city and some of the suburbs that are designed to have them both into the same system. So what the deep tunnel does is those areas where you have both rain water, storm water, and sanitary flows going to the same sewer, the deep tunnel is a place where the sanitary district can store those flows and then treat them on a slower pace at a later date. So instead of having it, the theory is instead of having it back up into basements because there's nowhere for the water to go, they'll store it in the deep tunnels. And then also, for instance, some of the quarries that are converting as well. Yep, McCook, and then even on I-80 there. So when you're driving down I-80 and you go over the quarry on each side, that north side, there's deep tunnels connected to it. And so the flows will go through the deep tunnel into the quarries, and they'll store the water in the quarries until after the rain event stops and they have more time, they can treat it at a slower rate. So the idea is to get it in the deep tunnel in the quarries instead of in basements.
That's good.
Essentially.
And just so long as we stay safe.
Oh, sure, exactly.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Slow, would you mind signing in?
All right, thank you. Next, then we'll go to our standing committee reports. We'll start with Finance and IT. Trustee McGlowan.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have a request for approval of a list of payroll dated September 22nd, 2023, totaling $523,402.78. Next, I have a request for approval of a list of accounts payable dated October 2nd of 2023. From the recap, General Fund, $258,055.91. Road and Bridge, $16,867.31. Storm Sewer, $1,294.08. MFT, $6,966.22. Pulaski TIF, $4,050 even. Liability and Workers' Comp Insurance, $82,074 even. Water and Sewer, $1,178,931.53. Sanitary Sewers, $2,140.68. Heritage Complexes, $86,136.28. And retiree health insurance, $49,963.19. For a grand total all funds of $1,686,479.20. And that's all I have under finance this evening, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. We'll go to our next, was the Fire Committee report. Trustee Murphy.
I have the approval of a grievance settlement between the Village of Alsip and the Alsip Professional Firefighters Local 3074. And that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Police and Traffic Safety, Trustee Dalzell.
Nothing for this evening's meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
I have the approval of the September 18th, 2023 Public Information Meeting Minutes. And second, I have the approval for a change to the Lombard Resurfacing and Drainage Improvement Project to have Pipe View perform sewer cleaning and televising in the amount of $14,735.55. A consensus from the board was approved at the September 25th committee meeting. Next, I have a request of approval of a resolution in support of an execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Alsip and Cook County establishing an agreed-upon protocol for the administration and management of the American Rescues Act, assisted listing number 21.027, Invest in Cook Expansion Program Sub-Award Project, which allocates approximately $750,000 of the ARPA funds for the purpose of improving the roadways within the Lombard industrial area, which roadways include Lombard Avenue Lane, 123rd Street to 126th Street, 126th Street, end of Pulaski Road, Cadville Avenue, Lombard Avenue to 124th Place, and 124th Place, Cadville Avenue to Lombard Lane. And that's all I have, sir.
Okay. And also, I want to clarify for everybody, too, I did double-check with the engineer earlier, again, when you talk about using ARPA funds from the American Rescue Plan Act, that's ARPA funds from Cook County, not ours. We have ours dedicated to other projects.
Correct. Yep, this is a separate grant.
Exactly. Almost all of our 2.6 was going toward water and sewer projects, and we've got a couple of projects around here, but that's fine. Okay. Next, we had the Sewer and Water Report Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. I have a request for approval of the August 2023 monthly activity report, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Trustee Peretta, we have the Building and Health Report.
Yes, thank you. No report this evening.
Okay. And we'll go to our Human Resource and Insurance Report. Trustee Murphy.
I have the approval to ratify the hiring of Stanley Johnson as staff accountant pursuant to the terms and conditions provided for in the job offer letter dated August 30th, 2023. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, and then we'll go to our special committee reports, starting with Economic Development Committee.
Mayor, there's nothing to report tonight, but there was a list of economic development that's not up for discussion, but it was included in everyone's packet from a report from Next Site. And that's all I have, sir.
Yeah, I copied that from an email I had from them today. So I just put that in everybody's mailbox right away then, too. So they're working, they're doing their best, and certainly you can speak to it at the next committee meeting, just to let everybody know. Next Site is trying to position Alsip and specific properties to dozens of developers through direct contact and conferences. And in addition, they've spoken with many of the retailers, so we'll speak to that next week at committee meeting then, too.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks. The next we'll go to Village Properties, Trustee McGlohorn.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Ordinance and Legislation, Trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request to amend ordinance number 2023-08-2 to include the expiration date of September 30th for the annual electrical maintenance permit. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Planning and Zoning and Licenses Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a request for approval of a list of licenses dated September 11th, 2023 through September 22nd of 2023. And next, I have a request for approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip approving a plat of subdivision and granting a variation from Article 7, Residence District R1, Section 104, Intensity of Use of the zoning ordinance to allow the use and development of 2 single-family homes on lots with dimensions of 45 feet by 125.74 feet on the property located at 11741 through 11743 South of Cross Avenue, Alsip, Illinois. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody have any presentations, petitions, or communications they wanted to share? I had just 2. I didn't have the time here, though, but the fire department's going to have their annual open house on October 14th.
I think it's 1 to 3:30.
There you go, 1 till 3:30, I believe that's accurate, right? I know it was only a couple hours. 1 till 3:30, October 14th, for the fire department open house, and we do that at Fire Station 2, that's at 120th and Laramie Avenue. And the other I had was I attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony yesterday, very nice, new restaurant in town at 12037 South Pulaski, right next door to the Dairy Queen and the Jewel strip mall that's over there. New business known as Jerk 48. This is Jamaican jerk chicken, and I tell you, really a great menu. I saw Mr. Smoot out there yesterday, and boy, really good food. I really hope they do really well with that. That's like their 5th or 6th restaurant yet, too, right? Something like that. So they're all over the south side of the city. So I hope they do really well for themselves. Did anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? No? Then can I get a motion to establish the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call number 1 to establish consent agenda. Trustee Dalzell?
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McGawhorn?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza is absent. Trustee Peretta?
Yes.
Motion carries to establish consent agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, before roll call, item number J, and I will not read the whole thing, but request of approval of a resolution in support of an execution of the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Alsip and Cook County establishing an agreed-upon protocol for the administration and management of the American Rescue Plan Act Invest in Cook Expansion Program will now be known as Resolution 2023-10-R-1. And item number N as in Nancy, request for an approval of an ordinance of the Village of Alsip approving a plat of subdivision and granting a variation from Article 7, Residence District R-1, Section 104, intensity of use of the zoning ordinance to allow the use and development of 2 single-family homes on lots with dimensions of 45 feet by 125.74 feet on the property located at 11741 to 11743 South La Crosse Avenue, Alsip, Illinois, will now be known as Ordinance 2023-10-1. Roll call number 2 to approve consent agenda. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez Mendoza is absent. Trustee McGawhorn.
No to letter N, yes to everything else.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Nava Esparza is absent. Trustee Peretta.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve consent agenda.
Very good.
You need another vote on...
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor Ryan for item N, which is the approval of the ordinance number 2023-10-1 for the...
For the housing
The housing.
variance, that's a yes.
Okay. So motion carries to approve consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone have any unfinished business they want to discuss? Any new business? Give me 1 second, let me see if anybody got back to me. You know, I'll tell you too, the, on that storage staging, the original here came they reached out to the clerk, and clerk reached out to my assistant, Becky Smith, and it just says, we're looking for a staging area to store materials for utility construction work to be done on or near I-294. The Alsip boat launch appears to be a great candidate. It's close to the job site and very open space. He let me know if that would be available. So, one second. And then we did get back with them, but obviously the question of what kind of material necessarily wasn't discussed. It was just doing work for IDOT, sanctioned IDOT contractor, and then they were planning on having materials delivered and set the staging area first week of October through the 16th, 3-month project, estimated to be completed on or around February, weather permitting. And then I sent them the other email that when we started the meeting, let me just see if they just copied all of them from this organization, and none of them got back to me, so nobody's near their computer apparently right now. So I'll have to talk to them tomorrow. And I'll get back to everybody electronically or something like that tomorrow. So can I get a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We'll adjourn this meeting. Time now is 8:02 p.m. Thank you for joining us tonight, folks.